What is your best instant karma story? Friend and I were driving and we're behind a guy on a motorcycle. All of us come to a four-way intersection. Already sitting at the stop sign that's going to cut across the intersection is another car. Friend and I slow down and expect the biker to as well because, duh, it's a four-way stop. Biker decides he's going to blow the stop sign and keep going. But the car that was already there had pulled out and began to cut across the intersection. The biker slams on his brakes in time and the car comes to a stop just a little past the biker. The biker is pissed and reached out and slaps the back of the car. Blue lights flicked on. The car was an unmarked cop car. Friend and I die laughing. My 3-year-old came out of her room and punched me in the butt. She turned to run away and ran into the wall. I laughed. Toddlers are little shits. When my sister was 4, she stole my pizza slice off the table. During her great escape, she tripped over a toy my mom previously told her to pick up. She stumbled, dropped the pizza, and before it even hit the floor, the dog grabbed it. I still lost my pizza, but the look on her face will stay with me forever. I witnessed a road rage incident where a man got out of his car at a red light, went to the door of the driver of a minivan, and yelled at the window for a minute. When the light turned green, he went to get back in his car, but his door was locked. This is beautifully simple, and I can just imagine the look on the man's face: confusion, then realization, then rage, followed by shame. I saw this lost dog sign in the neighborhood. The dog had a distinct face, so when I saw it, only a few blocks away, I was like, no shit. So I picked it up and took it home. The whole family was there, and they all cried and thanked me. The next week, when I started a new year of high school, the father was my English teacher. I didn't do shit and made an A in that class. I had food poisoning near the end of my shift. I only had an hour left, but somehow thought I could make it. I am brown-skinned and my face was white and green. I was sick as shit. I had to keep excusing myself to the restroom. My manager came right out and said, "Don't even think you're going home early." I just moaned and ran to the bathroom again. A few days later, she comes in. I've never seen anyone look as sick and standing on 2 feet. She shuffles in. Can't pick up her feet. No makeup, pale, green, a little puke on her shirt. She goes into the higher-ups' office and begs to go home. I was in the break room right next to his office and heard the sweet music myself. He said, "No. I need you here. We have extra shirts and aprons if you want one. I can't have you gone today." When I was a kid, about 9 or so, my dad and I were at the airport food court eating while waiting on our flight. My eyes were bigger than my stomach, and I didn't touch my fries. Rather than throw them away, I asked some lady if she wanted them, free of course. When we get to the main lobby for our flight, lo and behold, who do we see? Yup, that same lady. She was in the main kiosk as a flight agent, and she let us know she gave us a comp upgrade to business class. That was the first time I had ever flown business class. As a teacher, I get to experience instant karma daily. One that sticks out in particular: I had a student when I was teaching at a middle school who was loud, obnoxious, and willing to do anything for attention. We had just finished an exam which required stapled papers in order to be turned in, and he kept hitting the stapler against his hand with it open. All I said was, "Hey, if you keep hitting that stapler against your hand with it open, it probably won't end well for you." He responded with, "I do this all the time, I've never been stabbed." Click. Student lets out the loudest scream I've ever heard. Bleeding. Crying. I'm laughing, on the inside hopefully, and sent him out to the office. A guy stole my bike from a rack a couple of weeks ago. The guy was only able to ride about 2 blocks before me and my mom pulled up in her car, ordering him off the bike. Other people joined in. He hopped off the bike, apologized, he even put down the kickstand, and started running the opposite direction, presumably trying to make it to the train station a couple blocks away. He only made it a block or 2 on foot before getting hit by the car. We ended up having to identify him in the back of an ambulance along with a couple who saw the whole thing. The poor woman that hit him was distraught and convinced she killed him, but he ended up with just some scrapes and bruises. I felt bad for him because he got off the bike and apologized, but I realized that he would not have gotten hit if he wasn't doing something illegal in the first place. Why didn't he just use the bike to run? Can't run as fast on a bike. When I was in high school, There was always a bit of a bottleneck to get out of the student parking lot at the end of the day. Basically, you had to let people pull out of the aisles as you came down the sides so you could leave. I let a car go from the last aisle, and then this guy I knew, the weirdest, douchiest kid in the school, darted out in front of me, and then he and the dipshits in his car started pointing and laughing at me. While he was looking back at me, he rear-ended the car in front of him. My dad stopped paying my college tuition without telling me. I would have understood if he told me, which resulted in me going to school to register for classes and being told I couldn't, but I had already signed a semester lease on a condo, and ended having to leave campus shortly after and go back home to work full-time until I got off on my own. Christmas, my dad have me a $5 lottery ticket in my stocking and I won $30,000. That's still a really shitty thing for your dad to do. Did he ever tell you why he stopped paying your tuition? My older brother did absolutely nothing with his degree from same school, so saw no value in it. In reality, my brother was and is just a loser. So did you prove him wrong? Yes, and still do every time I get a promotion. I was on the beach with my family. My young brother fell on the water and got a face full of sand. I was laughing my ass off when a huge wave came behind me, hit me hard, and I got a mouth full of salt water. My dad laughed his ass off. A-hole at work was spending all day fucking around on his new phone. This was when iPhones were new, and showing it off, before dropping it onto the grill. My girlfriend sent me that video of the girl who was trying to make a curling iron tutorial for YouTube, and accidentally burned her hair off. My girl made fun of her pretty relentlessly. She was in the UK at the time visiting her grandmother, had a cheap plug adapter which apparently didn't account for the voltage difference, and my girl burned her own hair off with her curling iron the next day. I was driving home with some friends and this jackass in the lane next to us kept making shady maneuvers. I would stop at a red light, the light would turn green, he would floor it and start weaving in and out of traffic, cutting people off, squeezing into openings he had no business squeezing into, and almost causing accidents. Then the next light would turn red, he'd slam on the brakes, and we'd end up waiting at the light next to him again. It must have happened at like 5 lights in a row. Finally he finds an opening, punches it, and just speeds off into the distance, probably going double the speed limit. About a mile down the road we see a cop on the side of the road, with his lights on, and somebody pulled over. We are all like, oh please let it be this fucking a-hole. Sure enough we drive by, see that it's him, and everybody just starts laughing. It was so satisfying. I was driving home late one night, and was in the freeway going reasonably fast. There was no one else around, except one car coming up behind me super fast. I expected him to pass me, and he did, but then he cut me off really hard, for seriously no reason other than to be a dick, then sped off. I literally throw a hand up and look around like, what the fuck, did anyone see that shit? And a highway patrol guy pulls up next to me, salutes, and chases after him with his lights on. I saw them pulled over a few miles down the road. My friend constantly harps on how slow I drive. I drive the speed limit, she drives like a harpy trying to bust out of hell. A couple of months ago she threw a huge fit that she wanted to drive herself to dinner because I'd get us there way too late. So she drove herself and I drove separately. I got there on time and was waiting for 20 minutes when she finally walked in. Apparently she was pulled over on the way in. It ended up being a $200 plus ticket which she bitched she would fight. I just smiled and said I had no problems getting there on time. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.